Look at this cover, you guys. It's so pretty. And if you put your hand like that, look at that. That's awesome. This week's video is my first official video review. Today we're talking about The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. If you know anything about the young adult publishing industry, you'll know that this is one of the most anticipated releases of 2017, bought in a bidding war between 13 different publishing houses and already optioned for movie rights. The Hate U Give is about 16-year-old Starr Carter, who balances her life between the low-income neighborhood she lives in and the fancy private prep school she attends. Her life is a series of careful steps, always thoughtful not to say the wrong thing and always aware of her place in either community. But the lines between her realities start to blur when she witnesses the shooting death of her former best friend at the hands of a police officer. Starr has to decide whether telling the truth about what happened that night is worth the damage it could inflict upon both of her realities, and whether it's worth risking her own life too. I feel incredibly honored to have had the privilege of reading an advance copy of this book, not only because of the hype, but because I identify a lot with Starr. I spent my elementary and starting middle school years in a very wealthy neighborhood. I was one of a handful of minorities at my school, and my best friend at the time lived in a lakefront mansion with a jacuzzi in the master bath. I really understand Starr's frustration with having to be two different people at home and at school, because it was hard growing up being the poorest person you knew, but it was even harder when we moved from that neighborhood to one where more people looked like me. I still didn't fit in at all because I'd spent the past 6 years learning how to socialize with rich kids in the suburbs. It's a dual identity, and you never truly feel at home on either side because there's always something you don't know. I was excited for this book because this was the story I needed when I was 16 years old. I originally started this YouTube channel as a way to find confidence and happiness again after ending my friendship with my best friend of 7 years. This was the fall of 2014 after the shooting of Mike Brown in Ferguson, but it was not our differing opinions on this issue that ruined our friendship, but the deep, long-brewing problems that it had exposed. I had never learned how to stand up for myself for small offenses, nor had I considered how these things could build into something so large it couldn't be as easily mended. If this book had existed when I was a teen, it could have saved me a lot of heartbreak and fear. If I had been able to read this in high school, to share it with my friends and discuss it together, I can't even imagine how different my life might be. I'm excited even now for how this book could be used as a tool to talk to others. I think the most impressive thing about this novel is that it's not an issue book. It's not just a story about police brutality and Black Lives Matter. It's not a lecture. It's actually one of the funniest books I've ever read, which I really did not expect. I am so impressed with Angie's connection to the teenage voice. It's incredible that even with such a heavy topic, this book encompasses so much about what it's like to be a girl. The unease of friendship tension, the way you just melt into your significant other even if you're justifiably frustrated with them. It's certainly one of the most accurate contemporaries I've read in a long time, and not because Starr is Black like me, but because she is a girl like me, someone I could easily see being friends with, someone I could joke about Taylor Swift and Beyonce with, someone authentic, someone real, someone who could exist outside of the pages of a book. Most of the characters feel this way. I expected this book to be a good read, but I expected it to be too heavy or too sad to ever reread again. I definitely did not expect to fall in love with Starr's family and friends, even with side characters who have nothing to do with the plot. Discarding the plot, I would easily recommend this book on the strength of the characters alone. But the plot is equally strong. With such a divisive topic, it would be very easy to paint with broad strokes or favor one argument over the other, but Angie takes care to show shades of gray. She doesn't need to rely on dramatic twists to convey tension. The problem at hand is one readers are already intimately familiar with, no matter their race. The need for justice is paired with an at times uncomfortable desire for justification. Starr, just as much as her white friends and her uncle the cop, is constantly fighting a battle within herself to align drug dealing and potential gang banging with the memory of a boy that she's known since she was in diapers. This book manages to subvert expectations even as it follows a path we know all too well. There are times when things happen exactly as you would expect them to, but it doesn't soften the blow at all. This book is hilarious and heartwarming and beautiful, but it is also devastating, tragic, and infuriating. Most of all, it is important. If you read one book this year, please read this one. It conveys something that I sometimes feel is impossible to explain in a charged conversation that doesn't have time for nuance or backstory. I am often told that I am very well spoken, or that I don't act as somebody expected me to. My former best friend, the one that I had the falling out with, she often told me that she didn't look at me as a black girl. She didn't see color, she just saw her friend. And that's something you start to pride yourself on, even though it makes you feel very ashamed. You're glad that people see all the hard work you put into being a good person, but why should they expect anything else? Why is being normal an achievement for me? If I was any less intelligent, any less polished, would I be less important? Would I matter less? It's exhausting trying to make sure you are always on, never making a misstep for fear you'll be labeled as just another angry black woman, or even worse, the label of insignificance, to be nothing more than a thug. But it's still not enough, because for all that polish, my younger brothers and I were still the first suspects and the only people investigated when my family was robbed twice, even though we saw our neighbors walking around with some of the missing items. To be interrogated in your nightgown while your mother sobs in the background can't be described as anything less than humiliating. And that very same friend once told me I looked incredibly shady sitting at a bus stop in a hoodie and jeans. And that just blew my mind, because the entire time I was sitting there, I was listening to Taylor Swift and praying that I wouldn't get kidnapped and raped. That I could look intimidating even when I felt so vulnerable was terrifying. I mean, how can you even look scary listening to Taylor Swift? That just seems impossible. I can't really explain it as anything other than exhausting to live every day on edge, to know that no matter how perfect you try to be, all it takes is one thing to take it all away. One thing, a broken tail light, running a red light, getting lost on the side of the road, walking home from the corner store in your own neighborhood. One thing, and everything you've done, and everything you could do, is all taken away. One moment, and you're the suspect in your own murder. It's hard to speak about that and come across as level-headed and rational. It's hard to discuss that with care to the bigger picture. But this book does all that and more. I'm very excited for this book's potential to inspire discussion, so I'm challenging my friends to read it and post their own review. Different people are going to have different experiences with this novel, and I'm really excited to see what others get out of this experience. I'm going to feature others' reviews in a pinned comment in the comment section below. I'm also very excited to give away 2 copies of The Hate You Give. I'm paying for one, and my very generous and kind friend Gabrielle Pendergast is paying for the other one. It's really important to me that this book get in the hands of people who need it, and I really want this book to do well. There will be 2 ways to win, one here and one on Twitter. To enter here, all I ask is that you subscribe and leave a comment sharing about how a book has helped you help someone else before. And to enter on Twitter, click the linked tweet in the description, retweet it, and follow me and Angie Thomas. I'll have both of these contests run for 2 weeks so that everyone has a chance to enter. I will announce the YouTube winner in a pinned comment or something, and the Twitter one on Twitter. If you can't afford to buy this book though, please do. It's worth every penny, and I really, really, really want it to do great. Also, this has very little to do with the book review, but if you're interested in better understanding that daily fear I mentioned earlier, you should go see the new movie Get Out. It's a horror movie, and the magic about it is that almost everything that is scary and foreboding about it is that exact tension I described. It's probably the best way to get a glimpse into what it feels like to be Black in America if you aren't Black yourself. It's also just a really good movie, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, and I'll see you really soon. Thanks.